I always tell people that, I mean, ad nauseum. I tell them all the time. Even if you have a million things going on, get involved with one. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Clubs, doesn't matter, Faith House, whatever.
Right.
Get involved with it because it'll make you feel, it'll fill your cup.
Welcome to Posture and Purpose, where both healing and community come together. Make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Let's get into this episode with Dr. Michelle Carr Frank.
Today's conversation is about service, sacrifice, healing, and what it truly means to come home. My guest has dedicated his life not only to serving his country, but now to serving the veterans who continue fighting battles long after war. Welcome, Mr. Andrew Ward of the Acadiana Veterans Alliance. So, thank you so much for being here. And of course, I think it's always overdone, but thank you for your service.
I appreciate that. My pleasure to be here.
And I see that you served in the Army as well as the National Guard. And you were also deployed during Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Sure, back in 2004, 2005.
Do you feel comfortable sharing your experiences about each of those?
It was a great experience overall. I mean, we learned a lot from each other, and everybody we brought there as part of our unit, we brought back, which was a great thing. And so,
absolutely,
yeah, it was one of those defining moments where you realize what you have here is worthwhile, and you see the rest of the world as it is. And so we did a lot of good things during that time. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to leave home to appreciate home even more.
I say that all the time.
I'm sure you can relate,
That's
right?
That's right.
More than anyone. And being that your current position is with the Acadiana Alliance, tell me how that came about.
So I'll back up. So I was in healthcare administration for years, Dr. Tommy Bond that we both know.
Yes.
And so I was running things with him. And you remember around COVID, we had to shut down elective procedures, and it was a really tough time. And we had to furlough and lay off about 90% of our team and our staff.
Right.
And I remember having the conversation with my wife, and I was like, this is a really bad situation that we need to get out of. And so how can we do that? And I kind of thought back to my military service days and how whenever we had a situation that came up like that was unsolvable, well, you have to solve it.
Right. And there's no choice.
And so I started calling around to some of the guys that I served with and to some of the people that I didn't, but I knew that had a military background that were, we'll call them influential in the community. And I was like, I want to form something. I don't know what it is yet, but are you in? And within a week and a half, we had a board and we had a mission and we had the whole thing mapped out. It kind of just fell out. And that's where Acadiana Veterans Alliance came from. It was really partially started to drive some economic development in the area, take businesses that were kind of, on the cusp of really kind of coming down and bringing them back, spur some new ideas, work with partners like One Acadiana and LEDA. And really, because thankfully I had relationships with all those people. And so I was like, hey, we're going to be just the veteran kind of push here and use some of our military past and history and strategic kind of knowledge to kind of generate some new growth. And so that was where it kind of started in the beginning.
That is wonderful. And nothing like that had been formed in Lafayette before?
No. So the Veteran Service Organization community in the past were, very high respected still to this day, like the VFWs and the American Legions. Yeah. And we still work with them and support them. I'm the chair of the Lafayette Veterans Affairs Commission for the Mayor President.
I saw that.
And we have people on that from each individual, from the Military Order of the Purple Heart and from the VFW, because what they've done in the past and what they're doing now is still very vital to the community. But they weren't doing specifically as much for the post 9/11 veteran. And that's the younger ones. That's the 50 and under.
Sure.
And so for us, we were like, why don't we concentrate on that group, the one that's right now looking at their careers, looking at their family, like how are they going to be building their lives and their communities, and let's engage with them. So yeah, I didn't realize we were filling a gap until we did. And then we're like, oh, wow, this is something that is I guess, needed.
It is, and it was a different need than, like you said, veterans that came before. So things somewhat changed, I'm assuming, after 9/11 and that time period.
Yeah, I think each different kind of conflict over the years has been, unfortunately, like when the Vietnam War era, was going on, they were treated way different than we were. We were getting parades and they weren't. And so for us, that's unfortunate, but we still include them in our efforts, and we still want to be able to embrace kind of the service that they provided.
Sure.
We work hand in hand with Department of Veterans Affairs, and so for us, it's not just, we always say it all the time. I know it's a cliche at this point because I say it so often, but we don't thank for your service, right? We want to like show them that. We want to do things instead of saying things. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
And so what we do is the work program. It's career placement. So if you're a veteran or a prior service or any kind of ex-military living in the area and you want a better job, a better career, a better path, then we have, oh my gosh, we probably have 200 companies in the area that all they want to do is hire their workforce full of veterans. So we do that. We provide that service as almost like a recruiter, connect the dots. We started up an entrepreneur program called Mission Launch this past year for those that want to start a business instead of joining one. And so that's kind of our work programming. That's one leg of the tripod, but that's kind of where it was founded on, was the work program.
I see. And being that your military background brought you to this, who was Andrew Ward before the military?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
He was a 17-year-old UL fraternity not doing very well. And
life is good, right?
I don't think any male that's 17 years old should be just jumping into college and be living in fraternity houses. I just don't, because the grades are going to show what that was. And so, so I was at UL for a little bit, and I was definitely not the model student. So I took a break, and I remember I had that conversation with my father and my parents, and they were like, why don't you take a break and join the Louisiana National Guard and just get out of here for a while and then come back. And it was the best decision, because when I came back, you have that purpose, you have that drive, you have that thing that the military provides. So I sunk that right back in, went right back to UL, finished my degree, and never looked back. So yeah, it's kind of a good thing, I guess, in a way, that I was not the best student.
Yeah,
but
it brought you on this path.
It brought me on the path. That's right.
And what part of that military service will really stick with you forever? Anything you feel comfortable sharing?
No, I'm comfortable, sure. I think, so they have different values in the Army that they teach you, right? And I remembered selfless service was the one that always stuck with me. That's the one where all too often I think that we're always thinking about work, and we're thinking about me, and we're thinking about we, because we have family. I mean, I have 5 kids, and we have all the things that we need to be able to make it happen.
Make it work.
But once you get into a service base or a philanthropy or just something where you're not working for $1 and you're actually just giving back for the greater good, changes everything.
Changes
so that
your
was
life,
the
your
selfless
outlook.
service was really the one. Yeah.
And was there a moment that you can remember that you really realized your purpose and it shifted from serving your country to bringing it home and serving the veterans here in our area?
It's funny. It wasn't the veterans. So I finished my service in 2007. Didn't start this until 2020. And for 13 years, I closed that chapter. And I was not going to VFW meetings. I was not part of the veteran community. I was just raising a family and doing my job and doing things.
Right.
And I have a good buddy of mine who we were having lunch one day, and he says, you know what, you should come and join the Boys and Girls Club. And he says, I think you'd be really good on the board. Mm-hmm. And I went to a couple of meetings, and I saw what they were doing in the community, and I said, I'm in. Yeah. And that was really the first time that I had done something like that. And those 3 years that I was on the Boys and Girls Club board changed everything for me. And that wasn't even veteran related. And so I'd probably still be with that organization because of the great work they do.
They do great work. I've worked with them.
And when I started AVA in 2020, I rolled off my board seat to start that.
That's
and
wonderful.
so but then once I got back into it, I realized, I really missed this space, and I really missed the people that were involved in it. Mm-hmm. And so I see it all the time. We do our monthly socials, and I meet people, and they're just coming here because they're looking for that community just like we all are.
Right.
And so we provide a little bit of that.
And that life of service, it's just all part of it for sure.
I agree. So I always tell people that, ad nauseum. I tell them all the time. Even if you have a million things going on, get involved with one. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Clubs, doesn't matter, Faith House, whatever.
Right.
Get involved with it, because it'll make you feel, it'll fill your cup.
It will, and it'll do more for you than you realize.
Sure.
More than maybe that what you're doing for them. So
I feel fortunate that I had that experience.
And that's wonderful.
Thanks.
And you mentioned finding employment and setting people up that are veterans that are looking for business opportunities.
Yep.
How difficult is it for those veterans to rediscover their identity after military life?
That's a good question.
I'm sure it's difficult, but can you explain that to people who are listening?
No, I think what happens is a lot of people that join the military join either out of high school, they join very young, right?
Yeah.
They have a little bit like they just need that kind of direction and that
Yeah.
kind of discipline. And so you are part of a gigantic machine, and you don't have to think about your meals, you don't have to think about where you're going to sleep. It's all decided for you.
Yeah.
So I think what happens and what we find is when they come out and they become a civilian, you don't have that anymore. And so you have to make all those decisions on your own. And if you don't have a proper mentor, or you don't have that kind of built-in, community
Support system.
support
yeah.
system, then that's what makes it tricky. So we try to help with that. We try to stay close to the ones that are coming out. We work with the National Guard a lot too. Because even though they're part-time, they're still part of that military complex. And so for us, we want to stay close to them to let them know that we're a resource
Yeah,
for
sure.
that. Yeah.
And what did veterans do before you guys?
It's a good question. I don't know. It's. I think that there was just a
Tough.
little bit of lost in the wilderness. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and just pat myself on the back for inventing a wheel, but
You hear of things, you hear of scenarios that unfortunately are don't work out in the best way, and you just wonder, these guys and gals need this so much. And
I do, and we heard it all the time. And so I know we're talking about AVA right now, but I'm excited about the new venture that we started, the boot.
I know.
And
I
the boot's
thought-
really
some
exciting,
questions.
and we can get into that in a second. But that's really where that evolution came from, where I said, okay, let's take all the guesswork out. Let's make Louisiana the front door for them, and let's go ahead and go where they are and recruit them to come and live in a great state that we all love.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Louisiana's the best. If
agree.
you haven't been here, you need to visit. I'll always say that.
I agree.
What have you learned about your purpose in life while working with these veterans? I know that's a deep question. But
No, it's a good question. My purpose in life, I think it's just what I explained earlier was that service part of it, going back to it, going back to being a service where, like, I laugh because, like, whenever I was in college and in those early days, I was in the service industry. Like, I was in the restaurant business.
You learn a lot.
You learn a lot about people in
Yes,
that. So I kind of went
yes.
from that service industry to the service of the military to now the service of the nonprofit space.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. I think it gives you a motivation, and I think when you get the feedback that we do get, like you're saying right now, like that makes it all worthwhile. It's not working anymore.
Right. We need a change, and it looks like Andrew Ward is making a change.
I don't know. I have a good team. I
Yes,
have a good
well.
board. I have a great group.
What would we do without our teams?
No, agreed.
And why do you find that meaningful work, especially with the military and our veterans, is so connected to healing? And when I say healing, I don't mean only physical healing.
Sure.
Mental healing, emotional healing, after what some of these people have experienced.
So you're segueing into our HEAL program is what
Yes.
you're doing. I know, that's a good one. That was
Yes.
nice. That was well done. So I mentioned the 3 legs of the tripod. So it's 3 words. It's really easy. So work, heal, and give. And so I'll skip over to give because we wanted to make sure that we do bring in contributions and donations from our corporate partners, from foundations, from philanthropies.
Yeah.
And so we operate on that, obviously. But on the same time, we wanted to make sure that we were giving back in the community through time or through money. And so we'll give a contribution to Catholic Charities, a homeless shelter for veterans, or we'll give our time to Parish Proud as a team at their events. So the GIVE program is where we're consistently giving back as a group. And then the HEAL program was generated during that same time. I was in healthcare administration with Bond. He came to me and he's like, hey, there's a really groundbreaking injection called a stellate ganglion block, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
And it's a nerve pain block that's been around for 100 years. And what they were finding is it's kind of like the off-label Ozempic kind of thing where it's meant for nerve pain, but they're finding out that it's also reducing post-traumatic stress. It's also reducing hyperanxiety, right? Because it blocks that signal to the amygdala where your fight or flight is unfortunately stuck in a heightened state.
Right.
And so I said, well, I'm in on that. And so it was one of those things where now we don't just refer. We've been doing this for 5 years. We just refer them for the injection, whether it's through Tommy or whether it's through another doctor we have in New Orleans. We pay for it. So we pay for the procedure and we make sure that they don't have anything out of pocket. And that's paid for by the contributions that we receive from our partners. But it's groundbreaking. I mean, I've seen and the testimonials and all the things that come with it, and it's just been pretty amazing stuff. So that's the HEAL program.
Okay.
So we've been doing that for 5 years very successfully. We have an 82% success rate on that. And what that means is kind of the not to get too boring or in the weeds of it, but what happens is when you go in and you want to get this shot because you're having really high anxiety and post-traumatic stress, we're going to give you what's called a PCL questionnaire. And it's 10 questions, and it's going to be on a scale of 1 to 5. How do you feel about this? The higher the score, the higher your post-traumatic stress, your need. And so right after the injection, we do the same thing. And then at 1 month and 3 months and 6 months, and we track. And what we're finding is just dramatic drops in that score, right? And sustainable. So we knew that was good. We knew it was working. But one thing we kept coming back to, and some very smart people around the country, they advised us. They said, well, the shot is the primer. The paint is the counseling. And the counseling was the hard part because we'd say, well, you should probably see some therapist or some counselor to kind of help keep it going. Yeah. But you know how people are. They're just like, well, I'll just get the shot and I'm good. Yeah. So what we decided to do was we launched this past year the HEAL Center. And that's where we have telehealth, behavioral health counseling. We pay for up to 12 sessions. Wonderful. And we have a trusted group of trauma-informed counselors that are there. And so we take away the barriers. No cost. You can do it on your phone. You can do it at your leisure. Right. And since we started doing that, we got a 100% success rate. So it went from 82 to 100%. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's huge.
So with this injection, how many times do they take the injection? Once. Okay.
We have had a few come back after a year or two and say the old feelings are starting to kind of rise back. Can I get another one? Yes, of course. Okay. But one is all you need because it breaks the cycle, right? I mean, if you know the science behind it, right, you understand that it's a bell curve in your fight or flight. But if you're an EMT or you're police or you're a combat veteran or anybody that's maintained a high level of stress and they're always, we call it on, then they're stuck. And so what this does, it blocks the signal, it brings them down, and then they can, as in their words, they can breathe. Yeah.
And just, I hate to say relax, but
they can relax. The shoulders drop. I talk to their wives and they're just like, spouses, he wasn't sleeping and he was always up and he was grinding his teeth and all the things.
Constant state of stress.
Constant. And so now we get them to a place where they can actually relax for the first time in a long time.
And do you feel like your work helping these others heal? Do you think this has healed you in any way?
I think it's good. No, I think it's good. I think we're doing, amazing work. And so, I'm very proud of it.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's healed me personally, but it's been.
You're not giving yourself enough credit.
I don't know. I just like doing the work. I like getting
That's
the feedback.
Your
I think, This is, like I mentioned earlier, it's not really work if you love what you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you feel the same way with your patients.
I say it all the time. What do you think? I mean, we throw around the word or the acronym PTSD. Everybody throws that around.
Sure.
What, in your experience, have you found do people misunderstand about that diagnosis?
That the D on it. So disorder. So they're actually changing it right now, and they're trying to get more. It's PTSI. So now that changes as an injury versus a disorder. Because it's not a disorder. It's a moral injury. It's an injury that can be helped. So post-traumatic stress, or PTSI, is the term that we used. I think the big misconception was that it was, labeled with a disorder from the beginning.
A negative label.
And sometimes we have to say PTSD, otherwise they don't know what we're talking about because it's still so new.
Right.
But there's a big movement nationally with people like myself that are doing this in other parts of the country that are changing that. Changing that narrative. Thanks.
It's good to know. And why do so many veterans, do you think, struggle to just take that first step and ask for help? If you get the injection and you get the counseling, that's wonderful. But that first step seems to always be the hardest.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if you can provide a universal blanket answer on that.
Right.
But I think a lot of times what happens is if you are trained and indoctrinated in what the military is, one of the things we are kind of taught to do is, like I use a term we use called drink water and drive on. Drink water, drive on. Rub some dirt on it. If something hurts, just do some things and get going. Keep going, right?
Yeah.
And if you raise your hand and you're saying, well, I'm not really feeling the best mentally, I'm not saying that the military still accepts that. They don't look at it, but I think it's just kind of showing a sign of weakness, which is unfortunate, which is
Right.
not.
Sure.
Good mental health and good behavioral health is absolutely
Key.
necessary. It's key, yeah. And so I think that we're maybe starting to shift that paradigm a little bit out of it's okay to kind of, and then that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make, like with the Heal Center and the telehealth, you don't have to change your schedule. You don't have to, it's very private and confidential.
Good.
And
sure.
so then if you can do that, then I think it's more acceptable.
With your phone in your hand. you know?
Yeah. Thankfully, we live in a time where you can do that.
Right,
So we'll
exactly.
take advantage of it.
And beyond physical, injuries, it's hard for anyone to carry invisible wounds. So it seems like this program, could be made for any, physical injuries as well. Do
Yep.
they help with, either amputees or other people in different areas of injury?
We haven't seen that. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm sure that there are. Not personally. One of the things we've had the benefit of is there's a big group out of Chicago called the Stella Center, and so they do that stellate ganglion block procedure at all of their locations, and they have a national network of doctors, either a pain management physician or an anesthesiologist. And that's like one of the big things that we definitely are hardcore on. Can't just come out there and put a needle in somebody's neck.
Hopefully, yeah.
Ultrasound guidance only, pain
Good.
management physician with a background doing stellate ganglion blocks, or an anesthesiologist that has a history and has the experience to be able to administer the procedure. And so I think that I think them coming in and Stella as a partner, we've been fortunate that we've been able to help veterans in Salt Lake City and Minneapolis and California and other parts of the country because they heard that AVA was giving out grants for the procedure and they qualified. So, and they had a doctor where they were in Salt Lake. And so we made sure that they got what they were needed. So we're definitely not like, what do we call it? Like location agnostic or whatever. Like it's we're not just confined
amazing.
here. It's Acadiana Veterans Alliance, but we treat veterans wherever they need.
And we have Dr. Bond here.
Yeah, and Bond's great.
Amazing. And his PA, Miss Ashley
Yeah,
Ramsey.
Ashley Ramsey.
Shout out
Big
to
fan.
her. And, you're talking about your program, but what about the community that surrounds these veterans? How important is it for them to support our veterans? I believe everyone would love to do so, but we really just don't know how.
I think we have events throughout the year. I think, and that's a good question because in the beginning, all of our programming was behind the scenes, right? So it's like your practice. Like everything is within these four walls a lot of times. You're not out on Johnson Street doing procedures or whatever.
Right.
So what happened is we knew early on that we needed to open up a little bit and do more in the public sphere. And so we started doing these monthly networking socials. And they're free. They're not just for veterans. They're for anyone that wants to come, non-veterans. We do it at the room at Corner Bar right there off of Johnson Street in the little event room right there.
That's great, yes.
And we typically like 60 to 70 people come every month. We have a great sponsor, and so all the beer and wine is free. Or if you don't drink, of course, we have non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
But it's a very casual, easy way for them, like I mentioned, to connect. And then on top of that, we have events like coming up in 3 weeks. We have the Memorial Day at Munkus event. We've done that in Munkus Park. We do events in the fall and in the spring for Veterans Day and Memorial Day. We just had our annual Bayou Bourbon Bash, which is just a fun event. It's a night out.
Tell us about that.
That was good. That's our 5th year doing it. So I don't know if you know, but bourbon is like a thing. Bourbon. I
do not know.
A couple of years ago, I realized that there are like bourbon hunters, and they're like,
Really?
yeah, it's like collectors.
I'm
It's like when
learning.
we were kids and we were going after baseball cards. They go after like different
Bourbon
types of
bottles?
bourbons. Yes, because there are some that are hard to find, and it's a whole thing. It's a big underground thing.
I'm learning.
And so I recognized that. So we started doing these events where we would auction off and find these things, and we would have great partners like Tim Metcalf that would Dino's and Prejean's cater.
Yes.
And so, a couple of hundred people come, and we make it a big fundraiser, and we have live music, and it was just it was a great fun event. And so we try to
where's
do a
my
few
invitation?
of those. I have one for you for next year.
Next year,
I know.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
there. I'll
Sorry.
be there. We briefly mentioned spouses. how do spouses receive any type of support? Is there some type of program, or when they don't know what to do or they don't know how to help?
Oh, I think they're just part of the family unit. I mean, this is not a discriminatory.
Good.
Anything that they want, just because they didn't serve in the military doesn't mean they're not part of the solution.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, we always invite the spouses to come with them
Good.
on anything. We actually get more outreach for our HEAL program from the spouses than we do from the actual veterans.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, Danny, he don't want to call, but would you mind just reaching out? And when I do, and they know it's somebody that served and somebody that is a veteran themselves and can kind of relate,
Right.
then it's a little bit easier for them to say yes to it.
Right.
So, yeah, we definitely have that. With our boot program, too, we definitely include military spouses when we're trying to get them to move here, because we want them to be able to find a job and be with their husband or their wife.
Sure.
And really acclimate to their new state when we get here.
Yes.
I know I'm skipping over, but I don't want to. A lot of times, because these are two very vast and different organizations,
Yeah.
and so a lot of times people like say, "How does all this work? Is one like a program, the other?" And they're completely different.
And I can relate to spouses calling in for certain services, because it's usually the wives calling to make appointments here for the husbands. He's complaining about his back again. I'm making the appointment for him.
I'm guilty of that too.
Okay.
Shout out to my wife Angie. Yeah, Angie's the one that handles that, thankfully.
Why do you find that meaningful work is so connected to community and what you do for the veterans here in Lafayette?
Well, that's such a simple question.
I know it's not.
No, it's a good question. It really is. I don't know if I have a direct answer for that. I think that's like it's not a one size fits all. I think that again, I don't want to just keep rehashing the same answer, but I think I would just always engage with people that want to give back and people that want to do better for their community. And I think the older we get, you can see the difference between the ones that are really not just care about the community, but are taking action and are stepping up and are filling roles in public office. One of the behind the scenes things that AVA does, and we've done it for the past 6 years, is that we write legislation. And so I come every year with at least one or two different ideas to make the state better for veterans to come live in and work and play and all the things.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, and so I've been very fortunate that between former Senator Jean-Paul Cousin, State Rep Bo Boyer, Senator Brock Myers, and then this year State Rep Troy Hebert, we are always writing new things, and getting them through the House and getting them on the ballot, and so and we've had some pass, and we've had a few not. But every year we're just trying to do different things to make the community better for veterans. So I really like that part of it, because that's a really good thing. If we can keep doing that for the next 10, 15 years, you're building a legacy.
Right, you're making change, serious change.
And serious change, and you're creating a better place overall for them to want to live in Louisiana. You know, we're always fighting that big brother to the left that we all know.
Right.
But Texas gets it right in a lot of ways, and they do. And I mean, you look at how they treat their veteran community, and how like they have the Texas Veterans Commission, and how they generate funds through their lottery and like all their different things. And so that's what we're working on right now. Our bill with myself and Troy Hebert is we're going to carve out a very small piece of lottery proceeds, and that's going to go to a Veteran Service Grant Fund administered by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Wonderful.
And that's going to be issued out in grants to organizations across the state that are doing good work on the ground for veterans that maybe a lot of people don't know about, and maybe they're just needing a little bit of a financial boost to be able to build capacity.
Right.
So that's what the bill is going to do.
I can't say thank you enough.
Thanks.
Which brings me to my next question.
Yep.
How can ordinary people like myself support a veteran or support our veterans programs here beyond just saying thank you for your service? If I see someone I know that they've served, I always say that. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to know, do you appreciate those comments?
Yeah, of course.
Is there something else we should be doing or saying?
No, I think, if you're a business owner, we're always accepting contributions.
Okay.
We call them alliance members. If you want to become an alliance member, if you're a company, if you're watching this and you own a business in town, if you're a 2-person little accounting firm, or if you're, we work with, thankfully, like big ones like Acadiana Ambulance and Cox Communications and Schilling Distributing and all these really great companies. And veteran owned, by the way, is Herb. And so, I think you can support us in our programming, and it doesn't have to just be financial. If we have an event coming up, do some outreach and say, hey, can I volunteer? Can I come out?
Okay.
Can I just lend a hand with what you guys are doing? We're always accepting of that.
I could serve some bourbon.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check with my insurance policy and license on that, but we can look at it.
Well, good to know. Get involved, right? Mm-hmm. And you've gone from soldier to advocate to community leader. How has this leadership role changed you personally? Has it?
Yeah, it has a lot. Yeah. So there was a program that I was a part of a few years ago. It was through the George Bush Presidential Center. I want to get that right. So George W. Bush in Dallas has his library and his Presidential Center. And so I was in a class in 2021 that was on the Stand to Veteran Leadership Scholar, you would call it. And it was a 5-month program underwritten by Boeing. And this is a big, amazing thing. And what they did was they took veteran leaders, we'll call them, from across the country, from New York to California and all in between. And we all were together for 5 months on this very intensive, flying to Dallas every month for 4 or 5 days and meeting these great people like General Mattis and Bob McDonald, former VA secretary. And W was there a bunch. And so what was great about it was that it took me out of this pond that I lived in. And I realized that there was, A, a lot of great people doing the same kind of work across the country. B, it increased my network 100-fold because now I have connections and people and advocates and friends that we can work together on bigger initiatives.
And you can help more people.
And we can help more people. And it elevated me to something where this was like a first class. It's the best leadership course I've ever taken. And so for me, it allowed me to kind of get a higher understanding of how to be a better leader here in Acadiana.
And you're very passionate about it, I can tell, and you have to be, I assume. Does it ever get hard for you emotionally? Is there anything you ever take home or something you can't shake? Or
I don't think so.
Your military background.
That's a bad answer, just shaking my head like, no.
Hey, it's an honest answer.
No, it is. I don't think that there's anything negative. There's nothing.
It's good.
Well, this is going to be kind of maybe an unpopular answer, but I'll give it anyway. So one of the things that I find, if you look at like statistics in the nonprofit sector, there's so many socially based enterprises, these 501c3s, and they're started up with their heart. And they're started up by great founders that have a real passion for what they're doing, but they don't necessarily have a background in business. And they don't have a background in like generating economic activity for that thing and creating that where it's going to be sustainable, not just for a year, but for a decade. Right. And so that would be kind of the advice I would always give is like even though it's a nonprofit, we do not operate like a nonprofit. We operate like a for-profit, like a
business.
It is a business.
You have to have that business sense.
And without that mentality, it's just not gonna work, you know. Right. And you have to consistently be creative, and you have to consistently step outside yourself and be thinking like, how can we continuously do things and pivot? And I mentioned the Mission Launch Entrepreneur Program we started this year, and that was just born because we had veterans that we were meeting that were just coming to us going, man, I got this idea for this thing, and I don't know where to go. Do I go to the SBA? Do I go to the SBDC? Yeah, what do I do? And we were like, well, and one of my board members is an entrepreneur as well, and he's been in multiple industries like myself. And we're like, let's just build a 6-week program and bring in cohorts in the spring and fall, and we'll help them not only kind of take their business from 0 to 1, but if they're looking for capital, whether it's VC or whether it's private equity or whatever we can do for them, that's what we're going to try to do. So I think, but that didn't exist. So I think that's another thing is that if you have an idea of what your organization is and you're just stubborn and you say this is what it's going to be, that's not good. That's not a good mentality. You always have to keep. I learned that from Red Laurel actually. Red Laurel taught me that. Right?
Did you work at Red's?
No, but I did. Well, you did.
Through college I did. Yeah.
He was
so many Redisms.
Oh my gosh! I mean, half the town worked at Red's. I was a baby in the nursery up at Red's. If I was good, they would get a Judy Cent cheeseburger. But one of the things that Red told me was because I had a magazine publishing company called Active Acadiana for a while, and we interviewed him. And I remember that answer. I said, how did you stay successful over all the years? And he said, because I was never stubborn. He said, I always was like, if this is where we got to go, this is where we got to go. When racquetball was not what it was, then we transitioned it.
Right.
And then we transitioned, and we always just kind of thought what was the next thing, and we were never stuck in our ways.
Can't be.
So always
it has to
remember
be
that
fluid.
advice.
Yeah, you have to be willing to make that change, even when it's uncomfortable.
It was smart.
Yes, I learned so much from him. So we spoke about legacy earlier. What would you like your legacy to be with the AVA?
Oh, I think we just look back and say that we did some good. I don't know. I think it's pretty simple. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I think everybody, when you look back and when at the end of your life and you have your eulogy, you have your whatever you call it, your epitaph. I think that you don't want it to be one paragraph. You want it to be a page, right? You want to say that you were here and you made a lot
difference.
of you made a lot of impact.
Right.
And so I think we're doing pretty good so far.
I
with
think
that.
you'll have more than a page. I think.
We'll see.
And if a veteran is listening right now and silently struggling, whether it's, mentally or not knowing who to speak to about starting a business or taking the next step, what would you want them to hear today?
I mean, I think the easy answer is just to reach out to us, and Acadiana Veterans Alliance. We don't even have to use websites or stuff anymore. We live in the age of Google. And ChatGPT.
Right.
So yeah, just Acadiana Veterans Alliance and just see what we're all about. And the social media is there and the website's of course there. And we always have our events page and we always have things that are good. Yeah, I mean, we really do, I think, a good job of consistently pushing out, especially through like LinkedIn and Facebook, all the things that we're doing and all the things that we're getting into. So it's pretty easy to find us and just message and just be involved. But we've been very blessed too, because that has happened with not only veterans that want to like volunteer and be a part of it, but just organizations and community leaders and things where they're just like, hey, we're going to do this thing and we want you guys to be the recipient.
That's wonderful.
I'm very, very blessed.
Yes, and I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the boot. How do you separate the AVA from the boot? How do you keep all of this straight? And can you explain to people?
I can.
What the boot is?
I'll try to keep it as concise because that's a whole other show.
Right.
So the boot was so Governor Landry. I knew Governor Landry. He put me on his transition team whenever he became governor. I was on the military affairs team. And his first statement was, how do we stop the flight of talent from leaving Louisiana? We have to figure that out.
Right.
And I remembered the conversations we had earlier about how that transition can be difficult and how that step into civilian life can be tricky. And I had this idea of, so I like college football a lot, big college football fan. And so those college football teams, they don't just wait for these recruits to come to them. They go get them. They have an entire team that is like on the recruiting trail.
Smart, yeah.
And I said, well, what if we took that same concept? And this is how I pitched it to him. I said, what if we take that same concept and we build a team and we go to military bases and we talk to those men and women that are about to get out and say, what are you going to do next? And if they say, I'm going to go back home to Illinois and work in my dad's shop.
Right.
We're like, okay, well, hold on. Have you ever been to Louisiana? Have you ever been to
Options.
Lafayette, North Shore, Lake Charles, all these things?
They won't ever go home.
And what if we give you the food, the culture, the fun?
Right.
Then we give you the career paying you $75, $80 to start. Or if you want to go to college, we can facilitate that as well. So we're going to kind of take away all the things for you, down to the real estate agents even. It's so granular with our team that like we help you into your house and we introduce you to real estate agents.
That's fantastic.
So the point, and so, well, I give a lot of kudos to the state of Louisiana and to the governor's office because he said yes. And so state of Louisiana funds it every year. Way different than AVA because I mentioned we love contributions.
Right.
Thankfully, with the boot, the state of Louisiana funds it so our team can just do their job without worrying about fundraising.
That's wonderful.
And so what we do is we bring them in. And what I love is it's an economic driver. So I mentioned kind of there's an economic value to each veteran. What people don't realize is that if you did 20 years in the military, you get a pension. And that pension is worth a lot of money. If you have a disability benefit, that's money. So that's both federal dollars that didn't exist. So the more of those we bring in, if they want to go to school and use GI Bill, that's more. So you have a positive economic dollar amount attributed to you and your family. And so if we can get you to come live in Louisiana, you're just rising the tide.
Right. And it multiplies.
Exactly. So we started in mid-2024, so almost 2 years ago. To date, we have placed almost 350 and positive economic impact of almost $25 million. because on the average of what they're bringing in, we'd had a third-party economic study. But yeah, so if you're thinking about it, now you're getting, $18 to $20 million per year, and the first year was just getting people to know what we were doing, and now we're starting to hum, and now we're starting to build out our team even more. And so the goal is to just saturate the country and bring them all to Louisiana.
And you're really making change.
Yeah, you're helping them. You're helping the state. It's kind of it's that cliche of win-win-win, but it really is it's true.
Yeah.
Because once you start looking at
what's
the
the downside of that?
there really isn't a downside,
Right.
of course, because on top of that, everybody wants a veteran or ex-military because they have Department of War, Department of Defense. They have that training. And like all that training and dollars that were sunk into them while they were serving in the military, well, we just get the benefit of that.
The education of it all.
They're going to bring it to our workforce.
And like you said, win-win all the way around.
And so that one I'm very proud of. I'm just the founder of it. I hired a CEO, and we hired an entire leadership team and a recruiting team, a success team. And so they're spending every day, and I kind of just check in and make sure the trains on the tracks. I just make sure that it's still going the right way.
Right.
But it's just been a wonderful thing to see. Yeah.
And what about any advice you've received? What was the best advice you think you've ever received from a veteran?
In what capacity do you mean?
Just from a veteran, maybe in your service or giving back to others. Has any veteran ever given you advice that stuck with you?
Oh, that's a good question. Not off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure it's a combination of all the things over the years.
Many times.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had some really good guys that I served with back in the military days, and some company commanders, and some guys that I spent some time with, and some lieutenants, and they definitely imparted a lot of good.
It's all ingrained in
good
your training.
Values. Yeah, I don't think that there was like, sit down here, Mr. Ward, we're going to talk about
Give you this advice.
No, but it was just I was osmosis and just kind of just learning by example.
Sure.
And so I think that was good.
And is there anything funny about the military, or was there a funny experience or a story you can share with us, podcast friendly?
Military funny is a whole different ballgame.
I know.
I don't think I can say this without bleep 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 bleep.
Well, we do have someone that can
No. There's a weird kind of. I'll just say there's like this dark humor that's all just kind of woven throughout the military, and one of it is really just giving guys a lot of right? We just give them crap or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just good natured, and like it's just built in. Like the Marines are supposed to not like the Army,
right?
And we're not supposed to like Marines, and once we all get together, it's all one big team. But of course, that friendly rivalry is just baked in.
That's healthy.
So yeah. I don't think that there's more than that.
And my last question of the day is: how do you maintain your posture while pursuing your purpose in life? Not the physical, but
not the physical. How is my posture doing today?
I've been watching.
Am I leaned over?
I need a chiropractor.
Do I need to sit? Do I need to sit up tall? I don't know. That's a good question. I think my posture is. I love the fact that thankfully I'm in a really good position. And like since we've been working with Mayor President Boulay and working with her team as the Veterans Affairs Commission, that allows us to do even more because we have the city and the parishes backing on creating new opportunities or advantages for veterans around here. Mm-hmm. So just being a part of kind of a change agent there is I like that part of it. I think I don't know if that's the right answer, but
There's
I think
no right answer. It's your answer.
I think that's the posture that if I'm going to use that term in that way. I think that's where I want to stay. Is just keep. I love Lafayette. I love this parish. I mean, I grew up here, went to college here, and so
what's not to love?
No, raised our kids here, and so this is where we give back.
Well, that's a great place to end. So, thank you for being here again, and especially, thank you for your service.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And until next time, sit up straight, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay adjusted.
Thanks for listening to the Posture and Purpose podcast with Dr. Michelle Carr Frank. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time.